You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
All right, welcome into episode 155 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, or in this case, it's the live YouTube stream. Hopefully, we have no hiccups tonight. We are making about a fourth or something attempt at doing this live show. We were meant to be here last week. We apologize. We couldn't connect. It's the service. I don't know. Whatever it is, I've got Starlink, but it doesn't seem to want to play the game for us. But we're here. We're trying it. We're running it. We're probably going to have our man here on the side drop off in a few times, but we'll get to his introduction in a second. But this podcast, as much as I say it's proudly presented by, he's probably a little embarrassed by our efforts recently, but it's technicmotorsport.com. He's here helping us out. Anything suspension-wise that you need to check out technicmotorsport.com. As always, I'm your host, David Hogan. I am a physiotherapist, but I love my moto. But we do talk things, injuries, fitness, results, everything motocross and supercross here, because everything on this channel is always about moto, hence AlwaysMoto. But we've got on the screen here at the same time, he's still here. It's the AlwaysMoto contractor, Ben Grinly. Mate, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry. I was just having my recovery water, as our Boost AusX ambassador likes to call it, except drinking it the right way.
Oh, mate, have you been taking a leaf from Reese Walsh's toilet water recovery that he's got going on?
Yes, apparently it works wonders, but yeah, I'm not so sure.
Don't you love it when we get some high-profile person involved in the sport of Supercross here in Australia, and then 2 days later or whatever it was, they're drinking toilet water. It's a great look.
Yeah, it's not a good look at all. And then to tap this weekend as well, throwing some headbutts around on the field at players. It's hasn't been a good 2 weeks for Reese Walsh.
Look, if his idea was to get as much attention on himself as possible, he's succeeded. Tick, job done. But he could have maybe put an AusX Supercross Boost Mobile logo on his forehead as he went for that headbutt, mate. I don't know. Maybe that would have worked a bit better for us. But anyway, look, our choice in ambassador maybe was a little but anyway, he is what he is. He'll be probably at that Red Cliffs round in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe we can ask him a question or two, because if he's there for the press day, Benny, maybe that'll be an awkward little situation. We can ask him about his recovery water or something.
Yeah, if you're a game man, you can ask him, but
I might get headbutted. Are you saying? You're suggesting I'm going to cop
possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. Look, anyway, all right. Well, let's move into the rest of the show. So we're going to cover some super motocross things from the last 2 weeks, and obviously this weekend's the final round in Las Vegas. We won't touch on it heaps, but we're going to touch on a few things. We're going to talk about the Boost Mobile Australian Supercross Championship that's coming up. We're we're about a month, just under, or just on, out from it starting. So that's pretty cool. And at the end of the show tonight, we've actually got a pre-recorded interview that I did with round 2 winner of the Super Motocross next program. No, unfortunately, we didn't get Caden Manier, the Aussie, on to this show. That would have been a good link up. But anyway, we'll come back to that one another time. But we've got the Night 2 winner, Ryder Malinoski. We had a bit of a hook up there. Our man Ty Rayfield over in Club MX, working for the club team. He hooked us up with Ryder. So we got a pre-recorded one that I did with him earlier today. When that comes about, I'm expecting some absolute schmozzle, Benny. This is where I think our tech issues are going to kick back in, because I've got that to run on top of the stream. So if the show just pauses at that point, we'll apologize, and we'll tell everybody that's in a second YouTube video. It'll come out as a part 2, like we did that other show that we did. But hopefully it all just runs tonight, and we'll see how we go. So let's crank along. Now, I'm just getting a warning here that my microphone's not working, but hopefully it's all still good. All right, so in terms of Super Motocross and what's been happening, obviously we've had the Charlotte round. It was a bit of an abbreviated round with Lightning, but we got the usual winners as we expected. Jet in the 450 class, Deegan in the 250 class. St. Louis was a bit of a change-up. Mr. Round 2 came out to play, it seems. They're now nicknaming him Hunter Lawrence as Mr. Round 2. Pretty good ride from him, wasn't it, Benny, at in St. Louis there, particularly at Moto 1?
Yeah, no, it was a good ride. And, think back to last year in the SMX rounds, he did really well and ended up, I think Jet and Hunter tied in points, but it just went on the Moto score. So as soon as the SMX rounds come out, he seems to want to play. But it's good that you get out front, lead the whole race and to win. But it sort of goes a bit unnoticed when you've got Jet charging all the way from the back to put us all on the edge of our seats.
Yeah, look, that was probably the most exciting part of the night, other than the 10 seconds where Levi Kitchen decided to put a little move onto Hayden Deegan, and the two of them decided to blow themselves up for the rest of the night. So yeah, that ride from Jet, very impressive. A track that many people enjoyed riding, but probably didn't enjoy trying to pass on. But he seemed to find 2 or 3 spots that he knew what he could do, and he stuck to them, and yeah, made it look relatively easy. But that's not unusual for Jet Lawrence, really, is it?
No, and I think, the cutting down in the corner we saw more of as he was, trying to get Tomac. But that, cutting down in the corner was a lot of time gained against, sort of the back of the pack. So that helped him with the early passes. But he's just insane. It's the stuff he can do on the bike and the way he can get around people when there is no, everyone else is struggling is just crazy.
Yeah, the fact he rolled, like, I have to say, I wasn't going to bring this one up, but I just remembered it, really, and it's sticking out as a pretty big thing. But the way he rolled up on the Chase Sexton, and Chase was, 6th or something at the time, and passed him, and then just left him for dead. Chase didn't follow him through the rest of those couple of passes that Jet did end up making, didn't get anywhere. He just sort of sat where he was, and for one, that was impressive because those two are considered to be somewhat by many in the field, in the industry and in the spectating, that they're similar sort of pace depending on the day and who gets a start. But for him to do that to Chase in the Moto, that had to be a mental break for Chase. And whether that was part of what sort of destroyed the end of his last lap in Moto 2, don't know. But that can't be a good mental feeling for him, having Jet come up from behind him and then ride past him and just off into the distance.
Yeah, you got to think when Jet passes Chase that it's just like, oh man, again.
Yeah,
and then
pretty much.
And then to gap him like he did. It's just it's the same old story.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a similar sort of thing there. Now, in the 250 side of things, Joe Shimoda was sick, but 2-2 Moto scores, first overall. You wouldn't have picked it other than the fact that he skipped out on the press conference.
Yeah, no, he's riding really well, and we've all ridden when we're sick, and it's it's not fun. So for him to come and pull that out is is a really good effort, and he's leading the championship now, so it paid off.
Well, I've said this on plenty of our other shows, but for anyone new to just finding us on like the YouTube side of things, when I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, the week that you're sick isn't necessarily the issue. If you can manage to, control maybe the snotty nose or the spewing in between the motos, if it's a stomach bug or whatever, that side of things is usually manageable that week of the illness. Your energy is okay. You've actually essentially had a rest for the week because you've probably been off the training like you normally would. The problem and the harder part comes week 2 or week 3 after the illness has been recovered, because you actually did have that big chunk of time off. You lose a little bit of that training effect and that bike skill, that touch of feel of being on the bike regularly. It wasn't there for that period, and that shows up week 2 or week 3. So hopefully for Joe, being only one round to go, one, he can get clear of that by Vegas this weekend. But two, hopefully it's close enough that he doesn't see any of that effect that I've talked about in the past, because that's usually where you see the results taper off just a touch, and he doesn't need that. He needs a second or better. So that's what Joe's hoping for this weekend, and nobody to play silly buggers.
Yes, we know that can that can definitely play a part.
I wonder, do you reckon that there'll be anything like Joe doesn't have a teammate in this scenario? Chance Hymas has been out for a long part of the season now. Hayden Deegan has what? He's got Nate Thrasher. He's got Max Anstey. I'm missing somebody, I feel like. But yeah, he's got a couple of teammates that could line up and make things a problem for Shimoda, at least maybe in the first corner or the first lap or two, or even while they were getting lapped.
And yeah, he's got Cole Davies too.
Cole, thank you. I forgot one. I knew I forgot one.
Yeah, but yeah, it's probably not going to make life easy. But also Joe's been sort of above those three. So if you can get a start, I think he'll be clear. It's just only if Deegan's going to come from behind that that might be a problem.
Yeah, well, that's going to make for some interesting watching. I think the motos this weekend, and we've had our first dropout right at that 5-minute mark, so we'll get him back here in a second. But yeah, those motos this weekend are going to be interesting just purely from the entertainment aspect, because it isn't just as simple as them showing up and winning out, because there's going to be, for one person to win, it's got to be done in terms of some sort of other move to happen to somebody else. So I'm just saying, Benny, as you dropped out, that like these motos are going to be interesting because it's not just winner take all. It's winner's got to have a help in Deegan's case, and Shimoda's got to not get any help to disadvantage him. So could be an interesting weekend on the moto side of things. In the 250 class, obviously it's 450. It's not over until it's done. Jet still has to put in good motos, so should be interesting. But the track itself, the track map, looks more motocross than anything else, which isn't too dissimilar from what it was last year, really, in Vegas.
Yeah, it looks similar from the track map that I saw, and Jet dominated in that. So, the way Hunter's riding and the way Jet's riding, I think it's going to come right down to that last moto again. And, if he gets a start like he did in that first moto on the weekend, and he's going to come back through the pack, might be a bit more easier to pass this week. But, yes, I think starts are key this week and stay out of trouble.
Very much an important part, definitely, that start for this weekend for a number of riders, but particularly Jet and Joe, let's say, as the minimum. All right, let's talk some of the injuries that have happened in the last few weeks, and we're going to kick it off with probably the bigger one of all of it, and it was coming off the back of a return from injury for Julien Beaumer. Everyone's heard. If you haven't heard, you should check out the social posts on it, but that L3 burst fracture for Beaumer is a pretty serious injury. I actually made a bit of a post on X when a day or so after I saw all the information that was starting to come out. A lot of the other media outlets put out that it was just sort of like, oh yeah, he's just broken his vertebrae, which he has, but it was very nonchalant. That they didn't seem to put any emphasis on it. And I don't know if you remember this, Benny, but a burst fracture is what Jeremy Martin had when he had that crash back at Muddy Creek when he was on Geico Honda days, and kept him out for, I think he was out of action for about a year or so. And he had some other complications along the way and had to have things redone, but it's a serious situation. And the only difference for Jeremy Martin was it was an L1, which is slightly higher in the lower back region. So this isn't as just plain and simple as any other injury or any other fracture. This is some serious business. On a positive side, Julien Beaumer has been up, and Benny, you've seen this. He's been up in the hospital beds already, walking around the wards and whatnot. But he's braced up. Doesn't look fantastic, that's for sure. The visual of him in a hospital gown never looks plush for anybody. Your ass is usually hanging out the back. Do you have that problem, Benny, when you're in a hospital gown?
Yeah, maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all been there. It's not pretty. But yeah, look, he's got a long road to recovery, and whether this might be a bit harsh, but like whether we see him in Supercross at all, I would not be surprised if that doesn't happen. And even to some degree, some portion of outdoors is potentially on the cards here. If he's back sooner, it'll be one of those, for me, it'll be one of those situations where it's a, wow, that was a quick recovery. But it's possible. We've seen some stupid injury return timeframes in this sport, a la Jet with the knee this year, that nobody seems to remember he even had a knee injury. Did you see that knee dab that he did in the sand this week in the practice, Benny?
Yeah, I held my breath a little bit. And I think there was one in the first moto too, which I also held my breath at.
Yeah, but like you look at it and you're like, oh wow, that was only like technically he's racing now, and people would still be out from that same injury, and he's there dabbing his foot in the sand sections, like nothing ever happened. So we do have some crazy recovery times, but yeah, the Beaumare situation is very much a let's watch this space and see what happens, because I'll be surprised if we see him race a Supercross in 2026. We may, but I'll be shocked, and I'll eat my words if I have to. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's talk about some push-ups. How many push-ups can you do, Benny?
With my bung shoulder at the moment,
none?
Probably none.
Yeah, probably none.
To be honest,
I'm glad you answered that response. But push-ups. The reason I bring up push-ups, if anybody didn't see the coverage in the extended section of the Charlotte Super Motocross stuff when they were trying to fill airtime while the lightning was going on, they had Aaron Plessinger in the pits. Now, Plessinger is out, not injured. He's out with a recovery from an illness at the moment. Now, everyone's carrying on. Oh, it's not Epstein-Barr, which I say is the Moto virus. It's my little hashtag when I post about it. But they're saying that some virus has caused him to have some issues where he can't, when his heart rate elevates, he loses all his energy, he essentially takes longer to recover, all that sort of stuff. Now, if I'm Aaron Plessinger and I'm there signing autographs as a, part of my contractual arrangements as being on the team whilst injured, do you think, Benny, it's a great idea to be on the coverage pumping out as many push-ups as you can in about 30 seconds a minute with a fan?
I wouldn't have thought it would be a good idea.
I love Plessinger. The man's awesome. I've got a cool photo of him that I took at Southwick, and I gave him a copy, and he signed one for me. I love AP. I just look at that optics and thought, there's something off here.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the team think. I mean, he is doing it right in front of the team truck, but, AP loves the fans love him. I guess at least he's still at the races. You're still seeing the fans. But, I'm sure KTM and Red Bull and all the other sponsors would rather him on the bike than doing push-ups in front of the truck.
Yeah, look, set up like a fake bull head with horns and get him a lasso and make him, throw the lasso onto the bull horns and see if he beats the fans that way. Don't do push-ups, man. When you, if that's going to jack your heart rate pretty quick. I don't know. I just felt that was a bit in terms of optics from why he's out at the moment. But anyway, we'll move on. Max Vohland. What an unfortunate end to his season that's happened in St. Louis. Actually had a decent full year going for the first time in a while with Club MX after his multiple hip issues and other things that he's had with Proso Kawasaki and previously KTM USA. But yeah, dislocated elbow. Benny, they hurt. That's a lot of force to get that elbow out.
Yeah, the picture didn't look great. If anyone's seen the picture, you'll know what I'm talking about. But, and I wouldn't think it would have been a nice feeling either.
No, they take so much force to get that joint. That's actually one of the most stable joints in your body. And to get that thing to pop out, you're doing something real serious. So supposedly from his update post, there's nothing broken. No other damage as such, but yeah, look, it's not cool that has gone on at this point in time. Yeah, I'm just wondering how we're going here. I'm checking our live stream. It looks like we're all frozen, but it still says we're going live. So I'm going to continue to talk on until it tells me that it's all crashes. So we'll see how we go. Benny, I'm assuming that we've lost you as well because I can't hear you in my ear set anymore. So we'll just check where Benny's at before we continue on. and I dare say we're stuck. All right, I haven't hit start again yet, but we're about to.
It must be the same link every time because I just clicked the last email link and it worked.
Oh, yeah, no, that one didn't change by the looks of it. I mustn't have hit regenerate. But anyway, I'm going to try and start this again, so see what happens. All right, we're back live. We've hit a part 2. Usual tech bullshit going on over here. Benny, I don't even know where we're up to, actually, to be honest. We're finishing off some Volan stuff, I think, but we're also need to talk about... I think we also need to move on to Austin Faulkner's knee. That wasn't pretty either. He didn't make it through the season. For someone who got so close to almost making every round of a season, Austin Faulkner fell 1.5 rounds short.
Yeah, and that's the last thing you need. I heard somewhere the other day, I can't recall where it was, but I did hear him say, might have been a video or a podcast or something, that he's finally made every round this year, and then this happens.
He's made
probably went a bit too early.
Just
probably went a bit too early on that.
Yeah, just a touch,
but yeah.
Yeah, look, it's not cool. We don't want to see that from anybody, particularly someone with the history that he's had with injuries. But, yeah, look, when you dab the knee, and look, I don't know what exactly he did to get to that point, but he definitely tucked the front real fast and had to dab that knee. So whether he just got too much front brake and on that sort of slick surface, just push the front. But anyway, he's dabbed the leg. The knee's going to take all that load, whether it's an ACL, whether it's meniscus, whether it's MCL, whether it's all three. We'll find out here shortly. He's usually pretty emotional with his posts when they do come up. So let's see what happens this time around. Hopefully it's not as bad as we think it might be. But yeah, 1.5 rounds short of a full season, unfortunately, for Austin Faulkner. Now, while we're running and we're streaming live, let's make sure we cover our Boost Mobile Australian Supercross Championship stuff that's coming up here. Let's talk Shark Park first and foremost. Benny, I sent you the link, so I know you've seen it, but we were meant to talk about this last week when the stream didn't work last week, but there's a Daily Telegraph article going around about the condition that Shark Park is currently in terms of its facilities, stating things like temporary fencing are in place, bathrooms aren't functioning, and they've got portaloos as the main source of bathrooms at the venue. Did we maybe get this at a cheaper rate than, maybe we should have? Is this maybe the state of the stadium is not in a good situation, but we've managed to sign on for Cronulla Park for our Sydney version or Sydney round of the Australian Supercross Championship. I'm just a little bit concerned that we're going to have a stadium that isn't actually, fully functioning, let's say. It's a bit of a worry, to be honest. Now, we've lost Benny in the background. He knows what we're talking about, so when he pops back in here in a sec, we're going to be good to go, and he's just about to show up now, so let's make sure he's back on the stream. Here he is. Dropped out, come back. Shark Park, is it in as good a state as it could be? Did we get it maybe at a cheaper rate?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They said that the NRL people are saying that it probably wasn't fit to host the final. Again, probably not a good look if that's what we're going to turn up to. But, I haven't been there, but, when people are in the paper and, they know what's going on, it's not a good look.
Yeah, look, obviously there's still a bit of time between now and when that round is at the end of October. So maybe there'll be plenty of works done before that. But, yeah, Just coincidental that we just sort of only announced it a couple of weeks earlier. And then, that Daily Telegraph article pops up about it being in a little bit of a bad situation, operation-wise. So, anyway, thought it was worth raising. Like I said, maybe we got a good deal on it, so we'll see how it plays out.
Oh, it can't be too bad because the Sharks did win the final that got played there. So, hey, it may not be too bad.
Yeah, look, maybe just Reece Walsh can't get his recovery water from the bathrooms.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going to the Portaloos and getting any water out of those.
I was wondering where you're going to go. You sort of paused for a second there. Yeah, I wouldn't get anything out of a Portaloo. KTM Australia announced last week their team for the upcoming Supercross series. There was a bit of a surprise signing for probably many people. Dylan Walsh, the Great Britain rider, has been announced. He's Britain and he's New Zealand. Which one is he? I think I've just double-crossed myself here on something, and I'm going to look like a bit of a goose. Somebody's going to correct me here shortly. Anyway, Dylan Walsh is on the team for KTM Australia. He's going to be riding with Nathan Crawford in the 450 class. They've got Noel Ferguson and Byron Dennis in the 250s. But, yeah, interesting signing bringing Dylan Walsh over.
Yeah, it is, and it's, depends on who you ask. It's good to see another team sign a rider from overseas instead of, just the one that we usually have. But it'd be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, I'm not picking him as being championship contender, but he's got to be in that top 5, you would think.
Yeah, I would think so. It's probably all new to him, I suppose, in a way. He's got to gel with the team and, sort of get used to the environment over here. But yeah, you would expect him at least top 5.
Yeah, you mentioned too before about, like, depending on who you talk to, the signing from another overseas rider being good or bad. There's been a fair bit of unsettled Australian-based riders commenting on some of these international rider signings in the last few weeks and things about money getting thrown around and that the Australian riders aren't getting any. I can see their point. Like, look after the homegrown talent first, then if there's space, let's go international. Not international first, then homegrown. Like, we're going to have nobody to do these things if we don't support our own.
Yeah, and you don't blame them.
Riders is going to make a good point. Maybe you never know with Benny with the contractor, but yeah, it's difficult. The Australian riders aren't stoked on the situation with some of these internationals coming in, but Benny's about to join back here. Hold on, here he comes. You're about to make a good point. Don't disappoint me.
I think we're going to have to give the Starlings some recovery water. Jesus. I think, I don't blame them. They've only, our Australian riders have only got a certain amount of time on the bike career-wise, just the same as, the American blokes do or wherever they come from. But, I don't blame them for being a little bit annoyed when, say the likes of Clout or Tanti, could possibly have a championship, but because we've had international riders here, it hasn't happened.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting situation that we found ourselves in recently, and this kind of goes to then the next 2 points I'm going to make here. Australian privateer, Dylan Wills, very well known, was the man that gave it to Vince Freeze in World Supercross a couple of years ago. Rode really well in the last few years of Australian Supercross. Didn't essentially have a ride and announced on his socials a couple of weeks ago that he was not going to do the Australian Supercross Championship because, all these other rides were going to some of these internationals. Luckily for Dylan, Yamaha Australia has stepped up for him and given him some support that's going to allow him to do the championship on a privateer Yamaha 450. So, look, good for Dylan to be a part of the series, but kind of validates what we're just talking about here, that, the Aussies that could do it couldn't get the support they needed to do it properly.
Yeah, and, Wills is really good with his activations and the fans, as we've seen. The few years ago at Newcastle and at Marvel, he had the motorbike in Hot Wheels box and all that cool sort of stuff. But it's where, you sort of sit on the fence. It's really, really cool to see American riders come over that, if they didn't, and a lot of people don't get the chance to go overseas, you would never see them. But, on the other side of that is, how the Australian riders feel.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's an interesting situation. And then to follow on from that, it hasn't been announced in our media officially or from the team or from Yamaha Australia or CDR, but
not this week, but the previous week's Pulp show when Phil Nicoletti was in studio. He has been on that. He was on that show saying that he has signed with CDA Yamaha for the entire Mobile Australian Supercross Championship to do the 450 class. So that's an interesting rider signing to have come down. I don't know if he's retired, semi-retired, back full-time, what situation is. But look, Phil Nicoletti is cool to have here. He's filled that void for Dakar that he alluded to in my podcast when I did the Yamaha intro. Now, if you haven't listened to that, you should go and check that out on the Spotify's or the Apple podcast situations. But Dakar wasn't happy about the negotiations that he was trying to go through with another American rider. He's managed to default down to Phil Nicoletti.
Yeah, and I think, with the fans, that's probably one person that, they won't complain about. I
think they'll all be happy.
If they are, if they are on the fence, Phil's a good guy. Everyone loves him. He gets plenty of, exposure throughout Pulp and whatnot. But it'd be interesting to see, Supercross on the 450.
Look, I think he'll do well. I'm just curious if he's like Dean Wilson's speed. He'll be better than Dean Wilson fitness-wise because he doesn't have the old man Grandpa Earl knees of Dean Wilson. And Dean Wilson, speaking of, has some issues going through Super Motocross at present. And I don't know how well that's going to recover in time for our series that he's down with Reeve for. But Phil could be a contender, but he's going to be on that same sort of level as Tanti and Clout and even Crawford. I would pick him as above Walsh, who we just talked about with KTM Australia. Yeah, that could be the run with Dino there. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I can see it being a good championship. I could see there being multiple race winners, really close right to the end. I don't just see one sort of pull away guy, like Savacci last year.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I think the situation for Dino that he's in currently physically will actually bring him back into that group and make it more of a battle. So, this could be a good season. Could be a really good season. And we're going to be a part of it. We're going to be there covering stuff, so that'll be cool as well. So, all right. Any closing thoughts before we head over to our interview and see if I can break the stream again with a pre-recorded interview for Ryder Malinoski?
No, just everyone make sure you drink your recovery water.
Maybe we should get a couple of branded bottles ready to go for Red Cliffs to hand him one. Recovery water. Listen to the AlwaysMoto podcast,
Yeah. I must say though, even though the bad stuff that has happened, he is a good player and he does change the game and can change the games, but it just doesn't help with our,
the extracurriculars haven't helped. Yeah. Look, you don't know these things when you make the decisions to try and bring somebody on as an ambassador. You can't judge what they're going to do after that point and potentially harm things. But look, he's had a bit of unwanted media attention in recent times, and most of it's been brought on by himself. So hopefully he learns from it. He does seem like he's a moto guy, but because he did actually have a bit of a ride or something, I think it was, or at least he was saying that he was able to do that when he was at that promo day for the Supercross series. So, look, let's see what happens when he gets there. Maybe he has a ride. Maybe everyone loves him. Maybe by that point, everyone's forgotten and they've already drunk all their recovery water.
It's possible.
It's possible. We'll see. All right, Benny, thanks for joining us, mate. We'll drop you off the line here, and then we will head to our recorded interview, and I'll see if I can break our live stream. Appreciate you being a part of it, Benny.
No worries, Dave.
All right, let's get to our pre-recorded interview. I'm going to see if I can make this happen here. So we're going to basically end the show at the end of this interview. Thanks, guys and girls, for watching and listening. If you've subscribed to this podcast, please do so now if you haven't already. If you don't know that this is on audio-only versions, it will be on Spotify and Apple Music and iHeartRadio. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, on those audio-only versions, guess what? We're on YouTube doing live stream on a Wednesday night, 7:45. We're going to try and make this, whether it's 7:45 or 7:30 or 8, somewhere in this range here on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night is when we're going to do these regularly throughout the Australian Supercross series. So hopefully come and check those out. But yeah, subscribe on both platforms. Tell your friends, share the links, support us. We've got these T-shirts available. Yes, I'm holding up my shirt for the audio listeners. They're the $25 plus postage and handling. You can get one. Email info@alwaysmoto.com and we can get you those shirts sent out. We're doing some beanie runs. They're going to be $20 plus postage. So yeah, look, I know it's not the right time of year coming up for beanies, but get one for next year. Anyway, we've got some merch here. We need some support of the show. We have a PayPal link that you can donate to us as well to keep some of this stuff going. Maybe you can help pay for some better streaming services, because F knows what's going on here with the dropouts that we continue to have, but I'm going to keep working on it. We've managed to get through the show pretty well this time around. Last week, we couldn't even get on at all. So yeah, let's get to our interview. Ryder Malinoski, winner on round 2 of the Super Motocross Next program in St. Louis, rides for Club MX. Thanks again to Ty Rayfield for hooking us up with this interview with Ryder. He set it up for me. It was much appreciated, Ty. Let's get it on.
All right, guys and girls, joining us on the Always Moto podcast this week, thanks to technicmotorsport.com. And our man over in Club MX Land, Ty, as well. He's organised this for us. He set it up. We've got the winner from the second night at St. Louis for this SMX Next program. He's the number 981 on the Club MX Yamaha. It's Ryder Malinoski. How are we doing, Ryder?
Good, man. How are you?
Very good, thanks. And I appreciate you making some time for us. And as I was explaining before we hit record about potentially putting up with our shit show that is this recording platform that we've been trying to work over to video. We've been long time audio only podcasts, and obviously everybody these days is video. So we've got to get your smiling face on camera these days.
Yeah, I love it. I'm here for it.
So how's the couple of days post St. Louis for you? Obviously, you had a good second night there, getting that win in that event. Must be a nice feeling to finish off that weekend there for you, and on a positive note, given it started maybe negatively, but you've got to be on a bit of a high right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. Long time coming. Yeah, just been putting in a lot of work. Yeah, we got the win on Saturday night with a bunch of fans, and yeah, was always dreaming of it, and we accomplished it. And yeah, I'm still a little in disbelief, but at the same time, I knew I could do it, and just feels so good to put it all together.
It's got to be a kind of a nice finally feeling. Like you said, you've had a few goes at this. I've got a couple of different results for you from Glendale, Foxborough, Birmingham, even Ironman and stuff. And even I saw you doing some Canadian Nationals recently as well. Like you've had some mixed results across all of those things where some have been good, better, some have been, there's obviously a crash or something went wrong in them. But to finally go right from start to finish of the moto, I was at the front, I got the win. That's got to be a nice feeling to put it all together finally.
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest thing too is, I think even in this day and age, like a start's the biggest thing, right? And pulling a whole shot is honestly, you can do that. I think that's 50% of the race, and I ended up by doing that. So I just did my part, finishing the race, and yeah, it went exactly to plan.
Is it a nice feeling too? Because obviously in this SMX Next program, flashes of speed and podiums or race wins sort of are what help teams notice you. Like you've put one of those together now. Like you've led laps, you whole shot, like you said, and a moto win, not just running up front, which you did earlier in the season but didn't quite finish it off. That's got to be a good thing for you for the future side of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I think it's a good thing for teams to look at, knowing that even even if you look at the lap times in our class, right, with the SMX Next guys, we're right there with the pros. I think the top pros are definitely a little bit quicker for sure, but most of the field in the pros we can hang with, if not beat. So yeah, it feels really good knowing that we're a good pace, and it won't be as big of a jump when we get up to pro.
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously being on the same track on the same night. You can compare directly to, they're doing this section this way. I can do that section this way. Oh, their lap time or this segment time. Yeah, I'm matching that segment time. That's a nice little confirmation that you're at the level that you can maybe take that next step to the pro class.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
So where are you up to on that side of things? Like, how old are you first off? I think you're about 17, 18. Where are we?
Yeah, 18 years old.
18. Okay. I wasn't sure. I look bad math over here, right? Like I looked it up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's either 17 or 18. So yeah, 18. All right. So you're 18 years old. What is your plan? Are we a pro guy next year? Are we an amateur guy next year still? Like I said, you did some Canadian nationals. That was pro level Canadian.
Yep.
Yeah, what's the plans? What's on the cards for next year for 2026?
Yeah, on the cards for 2026, still a little bit unclear for sure. Nothing finalized or whatever. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do some pro races. I don't know if that means U.S. pro races. I think I'll definitely do some pro races other than other maybe countries or other maybe we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I definitely want to just keep racing at a high level. I still got a long ways to go before I do, I think, make my pro debut in the U.S. But I'm going to get myself prepared for it. It could possibly happen in 2026, but we'll see.
So explain to me because I don't know the rules exactly on this SMX next side of things and what the points are that you've got to sort of accumulate to get the ability to go into Supercross as such. But I believe what you did on that Saturday night there in St. Louis would basically qualify you from a points part if you're the right class. Are you A class? What was that? Because that's the part I don't understand being the Australian side of things.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we were just figuring this out a couple days ago, right after the race. But yeah, that SMX next race, because it's a super motocross race, it actually doesn't qualify you to get you any. I'm an A class rider first off,
Yep.
but it
Yep.
doesn't qualify you to get any points for Supercross.
Ah,
But there is certain other races that you do have to do to get your Supercross points. But I think you have to have like 4 points or something for your pro license. But I have I checked the other day and I have 10, so I'm plenty good to have my pro license for Supercross. So I'll be good to go Supercross if that is need to be.
yeah, nice. It's one of those parts that's confusing for the even just like for me. Like I know that the program exists, but like not being in the US and following that side of it completely closely, it's hard to understand what makes you qualify and not qualify. But yeah, obviously, I gather no whoops in a super motocross. They can't just go, oh yeah, Supercross points. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about rides wise then? Like if everything sounds like it's a little bit up in the air, are we, they're there with the Club MX Yamaha guys? Is that something that they're going to continue to support you with, or it's all open for negotiations at this stage for you?
No, I am. Yep, I'm settled with Club MX. I think I will be with them for the next couple years to come.
Nice.
But yeah, they've supported me super well. Took me in like family, and yeah, it's only right. And
Oh, we've just lost you. We got you back, but so you're staying with Club MX.
yeah, that's right now. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm staying with Club MX for the next couple years. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So are you one of those guys that lives on site there and part of the big family that basically is all on the one property?
I am. Yep, I have a house here, and yeah, fully committed here. Yep, living on the property.
So is this one of those one bedroom bachelor pads that you're in, or are you in like a dorm sort of setup for them?
No, yeah, I'm actually in like a full-on house here. They have like it's a full-on garage, full up 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, and yeah, it's really nice. It makes you feel like you're not at a facility, to be honest, which is makes everyday training a little bit easier on me.
At least once you walk back in the door, I gather as soon as you open the door, you realize where you are because you can probably see a track or something just out the front.
100%. You can even hear them too. You can hear dirt bikes all over because this facility is just covered with awesome tracks.
Oh, I bet there's somebody pretty much riding while there's daylight. There's probably somebody riding at some point. It might not be you necessarily, but there'll be somebody riding on the track at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure, all the time.
So with you being there on the property the whole time, as an amateur, what's your training program like? Are you on the same sort of schedule and volume as the pro guys, or are you on a bit more of a reduced schedule, obviously during your development and your age side of things?
Yeah, they have a bunch of different levels, like skill levels for training here, but I think there's about three or four different levels of training here for Supercross and even motocross. But I am fully with the pros, fully training with my teammates, Cody Schock, Max Volan, and yeah, we train every day together, and yeah, it's awesome, man. Those guys are so good, and they're so mature and polished with their riding, and they're still trying to get better, just like me. And yeah, we work together really well, and couldn't be more grateful to have them, on my team as well.
So physically, then, are you keeping up with the same sort of volumes? Are you doing the same sort of like off the bike training too? Like in terms of, I gather you guys go cycling as a group. Do you do exactly the same thing, or do you guys peel off early?
Yeah, a lot of our training off the bike's a little bit different. Like Cody has a little bit of a different program than Max and even me. I definitely have a little bit different training program than them. Just with the volume and certain things. But on the bike training is exactly the same, to be
Same thing.
honest. Sometimes, like the Cody Shock's racing this weekend in Vegas, so he isn't going to be doing the same thing I am riding this week. But yeah, if we're racing the same races, we're usually doing.
Unbelievable. The dropout continues, but we're back. Surprise. So actually on that, because you're touching on about Cody's program and like you're doing a different sort of thing. Are you actually in off season now? What's the next race for you that's going to be coming up? Because it's got to be a little whiles off here, or have you got something else in the off season you're doing?
Yeah, and that's still a little bit in the works, to be honest. I got a little surprise, I think, coming here soon to
Oh,
see where I'll be doing. But yeah, I as right now still working some things out. But yeah, I can tell you what, I definitely don't want to sit and just train. I definitely want to race. I need to race. So I think the plan is to go racing here soon.
oh, okay. Some interesting stuff that maybe drops here on the socials very shortly. I gather it's not signed, sealed, delivered yet because you're alluding to it, but you can't say it. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, definitely. So, all right. Well, in an ideal world for you in the next couple of years, what does the program look like? Are you a full-time club rider, I mean, on the team doing AMA side of things? Given that your background, you've had some Canadian stuff, and then you sound like you're going all over the place. Coming up here shortly, what's the ideal situation for you in say 2-3 years time when you're at that pro level?
Yeah, in 2 to 3 years time, to be honest, I see myself competing in the US here at a pro level. Obviously, I think in 2 to 3 years, I could see myself competing for a championship, either in, pro motocross or supercross. That's the goal. That's my high goal, obviously. But short term goals, just to keep building and keep getting better, because that's a long ways away. But to see my improvement in the last 5 years, just even riding a dirt bike, I know it's a lot harder to go from the jump, that I'm wanting to go to. But I think it's fully possible. I got such a good program here, and it showed.
Do you have many supports there? Like obviously you're living on site. Like do you have parents or girlfriend or something that's anywhere nearby, or are you just literally soloing it from your side of things with your normal close family, maybe living elsewhere?
Yeah, so I actually was soloing it here for about 2.5 years,
Yeah.
almost three. And then my dad actually just recently moved down here with me.
Oh, nice.
So he's bought into the program fully, and yeah, I'm super grateful for it.
So is he doing like practice bike mechanic stuff for you or something at that point, or is he just kicking your ass at getting up in the morning and telling you to go to the gym or whatever?
Yeah, he's here to just to help support. Honestly, he doesn't touch the bike or anything, but he's here, just to make sure I'm even, a little bit more locked in.
Yeah, nice. Well, it must be nice probably to finally have somebody. I gather they're probably helping you with cooking meals or cleaning the place up a little bit too, because that would have been a bit of a struggle. If you're saying you've been there 2-3 years, back sort of 15, 16, you probably weren't good at cleaning the house up, mate.
No, exactly, exactly.
You're more focused on the video games at that point, I'd say. Do you play anything like that as well, and to keep yourself busy in the evenings, or what do you do?
Honestly, a little bit, but not much. I'm a big golfer. I like to golf, so in the free time, go golfing. But No, it's full days, man. It's pretty surprising, but like it's more than a full-time job, I would say. It's, from I would say, you wake up at 7:30, and you go to bed at 7:30. So it's full days.
Yeah, nice. Well, the life of a motocrosser, obviously there's golf involved. That's one thing that usually pops up for everybody. But yeah, it is a full on between, training, eating, riding, recovering, sleep, eat, repeat, sort of keep going again. Yeah, the process rolls on. The only way to get better is to stay in that regime of consistency, isn't it? So yeah, you're already well and truly deep into it by the sounds of it for a few years now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I've definitely been in it for a couple years now, and it's only getting harder, that's for sure.
Well, the expectations get higher and higher as you get closer to that top of the tree. So yeah, it's got to continue to progress along that way. Yeah, look, man, I'm interested now that you've dropped it. I'm curious about what's going to come next, but I'm not going to push you on any of it further. But yeah, look, interested to see what you come out with here in the short term. But um, for next year, at this stage, you probably don't know, but I gather the first race that we're going to see you at might be an SMX next again, in whatever it'd be Glendale or something that they'll pick out again. Um, is that just basically you just trying to make sure and step up and refine the craft then at that point, if that's the case, and it's something silly like an injury doesn't call you up to the pro ranks early?
Yeah, I mean that's the plan, is just to get back into the futures again at the start of the year. But yeah, I still think I have a little bit more to prove. I definitely did it once, but I think I can do it again, and I think I can do it even more. So I just want to keep showing that this wasn't a one-time thing, and I'm definitely legit, and that's what I'm hoping to show.
Yeah, I guess in the Supercross side of things too, it's probably about showing a bit of consistency in some of those results too, to try and show that you can, repeatedly on different tracks, because each week's obviously a different build, different surface to some degree. Yeah, being able to consistently put yourself up in those, battling positions would be, and not just crash your brains out after doing one fast lap sort of thing is part of this development process you've got to still work through a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And just staying healthy too. I think that's a big thing. I've had definitely a string of injuries now, so it was a 6 month, I would say, string of injuries with a wrist, and ankle, and a thumb, and that took a lot out of me. And I definitely didn't show. I would say a lot of that inconsistency just came from trying to rush back and race. But yeah, we definitely put in a really good, it's not an off season, but a good training camp before these SMX next, and we stayed healthy, and we builded back to where we knew we had to be to do the job, and we did it.
Is it hard? You just touched on this. Like you're already so young, and you already had probably a handful of injuries in what 12 months by the sounds of that, or even shorter. Is it hard to
Yeah.
sort of take those injuries at this early stage, knowing that majority of the career path that you're trying to walk is in front of you still?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard pill to swallow for sure. But overall, I've been good with the injuries. I would say it's just I had that 6 month of like three back to back, which was
Yeah.
pretty rare because I actually.
If nothing else, at least let you come back in fairly quickly. It's not too long between the dropouts, but you have no understanding of how much this is ticking me off right now. But anyway, we're continuing on. So the path with the 6 months of injuries and a run there was where you're at.
Yeah, yeah. I just been, I definitely have been in a little bit of a tough spot with all the injuries, but that's honestly all I had for injuries. I would say was the three back to back. So I'm not worried too bad about it. I'm a pretty healthy and strong kid, I would say, and I work really hard on my rehab if I am hurt and injured. And I honestly, my body's 100%, and yeah, I only have one thing of metal in my body, so I'm not too worried about it. And definitely, I know there's kids out there that have gotten hurt a lot more.
Yeah, I always wonder about those ones that are sort of getting a few more of those injuries before they hit the pro ranks, because they are just sort of limiting or even risking the fact that if there is metal in there, when they do come back and they maybe break that, it's a much bigger injury, and then they've already done it once. So then twice and three times becomes so much easier for it to happen. So yeah, you got to try and limit that stuff, but it also slows your development and your skill building. Just your on bike time gets lost so much. So Yeah, it is a skill, like you said at the beginning of that sort of the piece of the conversation about, the consistency of not being injured. And that's where that all develops along massively for you guys at this early age. Because if you can just stay on the bike for as long as you can, you're only going to benefit from it in terms of speed, skill, all those little tweaks that you need to make in terms of your technique. You'll get them in one hit.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I totally agree, and I think the rehab's just such an important thing because a lot of kids too, they get hurt and they don't take the rehab stuff serious, and like that's the biggest thing. If you can't get your body to be fully functioning, like it was before, that's definitely limiting your riding technique and everything.
Yeah, no, definitely. You sound like you got your head in the right space to be doing all this because like there is going to be times where you got a bit more rehab coming up. Unfortunately, it's injuries are part of moto. They just happen, whether you like it or not. So if you know how to approach it, yeah, you'll put yourself in good stead to return in the right frame of mind and right body position as well. So that, yeah, look, that's awesome. All right, we're going to take that last dropout as the chance to say wrap this one up because I don't want to have that happen any more times. So, Ryder, one, thank you for being a part of the AlwaysMoto podcast. Well done on the event and the win in that second round there for this SMX Next. Hopefully, we hear something about whatever it is that you're alluding to for your plans coming up here shortly. Interested to hear what that is. But yeah, look, appreciate your time, mate, tonight. And thanks for staying up late for us on the time zone conversion as well.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. Yeah, thank you for having me, and it's my pleasure.
Easy. Thanks, mate.